Jai Gurudev again, welcome, and really happy Akshaya Trita, because it's such an auspicious day, you know, that so many things happen on this auspicious day, you know. So, like, you know, Sudama visited Krishna on this day, you know, it's also considered to be the appearance day of Parshuram, which normally it was yesterday, but it's also today. And it is on that day that Surya Narayan gave the Akshapatra to the Pandava, because they were in the forest, they could not have food, you know. So, like that, whatever they wish from that bowl, you know, they can have it. And it is on that day that Vashishta started writing about the Mahabharata, not Vashishta, Vedavyasa, sorry. And there are so many things on this auspicious day, actually. And that's why it is said that into this, when this constellation happen, so whatever one engage into bear a multitude of merits, you know, not like normal days. That's why on this day, whoever start any business or any things in the life, they are blessed. Because you see, the event of all these things which happen act on that particular day. Of course, not all the event happen in one time itself on that specific day itself, you know. It's but there's many gaps and many years in between them. But on that specific constellation, these things happen. You know? So that's why the sages have seen that what an auspiciousness, you know, on this day too, and intensified your devotion and your focus on the Lord also, when you really fully and engaging yourself into your spiritual practice and longing for Him. So, with this blessing, you know, in your life, you know, we are living in a very interesting time, you know, where, especially this time now, we are called to go inside, you know. But even when we are called to go inside, we should not forget about all the people outside also, you know. Where people are in ignorance, they don't know very often that that time is also very auspicious for them. So even by remembering them, you know, when we send that love after when we finish doing the japam, we send the love to them, you know, it bear merits for them also. You know, we are living in a world, you know, and we have to care for others also. You know, we can't just say we are very selfish, looking only for ourselves. No. So you are a light. You know, the light don't give the light to itself. The light shine for others. You know, like that, the light that you have inside of you, that light which is Giridhari himself, you know, it shines through you. You know, when you call yourself a devotee, you are a recipient of his light. And you shine this light for the welfare of humanity, for the welfare of everybody. You know, so remember that always. A devotee is humble. And a devotee is not somebody which is arrogant and full of pride. A devotee is humble, but being humble doesn't mean that you let yourself be beaten up, you know. But you have to stand strong into your faith and defend also your faith. You know, it is also one kind of humility. So I ask Jagopal to tell your question.
How can I keep myself free from drugs and alcohol addictions? What can I hold on to in difficult times and change my focus?
You see, any form of addiction, firstly we have to see what it is. You have made drugs, alcohol, cigarettes and so many things, even the material world, your companion. So this is your companion, you know, in who surrounding you are. You become how your company is. If you keep company of people which is in this domain, of course automatically you will start to pick up the quality from them. You will start to act in that way. So firstly, if you want to change yourself, so you start to change the people which is around you. The companion, which you keep, affect you. If you keep company of good people, the goodness of these people will come upon you. You will awake inside of your mind. It will transform you. But if in spite you say, yes, I want to change, but yet it's very difficult, I want to let go of drug, I want to let go of alcohol, I want to let go of cigarette, but yet you still hold them, you still keep them, you will never be able to let go of them. First you have to throw them away and change the people you surround yourself with. Because if you, even in spite of throwing these things outside, because it's of material things, you can just throw it away. Everything which is material, but feeling is not material. The urge, it's not material. So that mind will pull you back again. But will pull you back to whom? It will pull you back to the same people again. So if you change your companion, keep away from these people, start having good people into your life. Engage, with a devotee. If you do that, automatically changes will happen. It's true, being among devotees, changes happen. If it is, let's say, like in Bhagavad itself, Bhagavan said, it is not in Canto 11, chapter 12, verse 1-2, Bhagavan said it, it is not by yoga, it is not by charity, it is not by penance, it is not by scripture, study of scriptures, it is not by self-intellectual analysis, but one can have the Lord under control as being in the company of my devotee. Being company of the devotee, meaning that what the devotee hold inside of them, they pour it upon those which is in need of it. And through that, the transformation happen. And like that, you can truly and sincerely let go of all habits. Because you see, all habits will not let go just like this of you. Because you have entertained them. You have welcomed them into your life. You have befriended them. So by letting go of that kind of companion and take different companion into your life, that changed everything. Once there was a talk, because you see very often people talk about what is the greatness of being associated to devotees, to pure devotees, especially those whose mind is fully absorbed into Bhagavan. In Bhagavad itself, it said, in Bhagavatam, Canto 1, verse, chapter 18, verse 13, it is said that it is through the association that things can change. It is through association to the devotee. It is very rare, actually, to have this kind of association. So, to associate, like it said in that in the canto, it said, a single association to a devotee, a true devotee, a sincere devotee, those who have that Lord inside of them, a sincere association to a pure devotee, worth more than even the merits of being in heaven or even attaining liberation. So what do you think? If this is that, that can liberate you, it is much more, than being here into this material enjoying this material realm itself. That the Bhagavad said that. So there is this beautiful story, of once Vishwamitra asked Vashishta Muni, and asked him, what one associating to a devotee, because you see, when you associate yourself with people, you pick up certain things by people, And of course, Vashishta could not answer that, and he said, I can't really answer you this question. So let's go to Adishesh. He is eternally with Srimad Narayana. So let's go and ask him. So when they approach Adishesh had Bhumi Devi on his head. So they ask him the same question: what is the greatness of being among the devotee, or being near to a realized being, Because the devotee is not just a normal person, even if they appeared outside as being normal, but they are not normal. So then Adishesh said to the sages, to Vishwamitra and Vashishta, I will be happily telling you the greatness of association of devotees, what that does, But you see, I'm very busy. I have to hold Mother Earth on my head. So if one of you can help me into that, then I will happily explain that to you. Vishwamitra approached and said, okay, I will help you. And he said, he took some water in his hand and he prayed, I offer thousands of years of penance to the feet of the Lord. I offer it to you so that I can hold hold Mother Earth. Then you can explain this about being in the association of devotee. So as he did that, Adishesh took Mother Earth and gave to Vishwamitra. So Vishwamitra hold Mother Earth, but it was getting heavier and heavier. He could not. Very quickly he said, oh my goodness, this is too heavy, please take it back. So he gave it back to Adishesh. Adishesh, take it back. And I said, okay. And Vashishta said, okay, I offer the association of this present moment as offering. I dedicate that association that we are having right now as offering. And then Adishesh took Mother Earth and gave it to Vashishta, and Vashishta could hold Mother Earth. Then for quite a long time Vishwamitra was amazed, how is it possible? Then Adishesh explained that what you just experienced right now is the grace of being into the divine association itself, to be among the right people. And also like that, you see, if you really want to change, you have to change the companion which you are around. So if you keep into good association, the good will awake inside of you, and you will be able to hold that, because this is not that easy. Like you said, you have tried very much. In chapter 15, verse 11 of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said, there's many, the yogis, the saint and the sages, they perceive me within themselves. But there is many, which is their mind, which is deluded, unrefined, unintelligent. They also strive, but they don't perceive me. They can't attain me. So you see how difficult it is. You keep striving, but one thing is very important: the purification of one mind, firstly, which means even if you have this addiction, you have to get rid of this addiction firstly. You can't still say, yes, I want to get rid, but I still hold upon something. Want to get rid of something, you have to let go of it. Otherwise, addiction will never let go of you. And as strong as you sincerely say, but yes, I want to get rid of it, it will be that easy also. I'll tell you a fact. You see, my father used to smoke. He used to smoke. He was a heavy smoker. He used to smoke like, I think, 2 packets of cigarette every day. And one fine day, I remember, I think I was 11 years old or something like that. One fine day, he just held the cigarette in his hand. I said, from now on, I stop smoking. He crushed the cigarette and threw it away. And from that day on, he have never smoked again. You see, that strong determination must be there. Because if you say, oh, I will stop little by little, it will never happen. People who say little by little, the mind still functions the same. The mind will still run toward the same thing. So then you will again go and meet your old friend. When you go and meet your old friend, the same samskaras from the past will come back again. So first, you have to be clear about whether you really want to get rid of this addiction or not. So you keep striving, but first you have to purify your mind. You see, purify your mind by really changing your mindset, how you are thinking. And how you will do that is by truly understanding, associating yourself with people which is the same kind. If you want to get rid of it, do not associate with negative people. You associate with positive people. And when with positive people, they will help you. It's not that they have to do something or giving you advice or anything. No. Just by their vibration itself, changes will happen. And this is the greatness of being among devotees itself. For changes to manifest itself, for changes for the Lord to reveal Himself, like He said, in the association of the devotees, I reveal myself. It don't say that in association of other things, no. Only through that association, but Bhagwan Himself praised that association. So if He Himself is praising such association, meaning you become strength when you engage into service. Life is like this, very often you see, look at the devotee's life. The devotee's life is engaged into service to the Lord in everything that they do. Because they realize that this life is very important. This life is a great gift itself. And this life, what you are living right now, like I said, we are living in a wonderful time. And this wonderful time, not in every life you have that chance to live in such a wonderful moment. So, like it said in Bhagavad itself also, this life, it's very rare. Life is very rare to attain. So even because you see, life is here, tomorrow is not here. So one moment it is here, the next moment you can die. But even rarer than life itself is an association of pure soul. That's what it said in the Bhagavad. So even more rare than your own life itself. It's not about this addiction. It's about this association whom you keep companion. And that is so beautiful when you understand how it is. And those which is associating with the divine, of course, they perceive a certain reality which the outside world doesn't perceive. And that reality which the devotee perceived rotate around the divine itself. The outside will tell you, no, this doesn't exist. This is just a fantasy. This is just stories. Because they don't have any experience of that. There is this beautiful story of 2 frogs. So one frog was living in a well, And for that frog, he was just staying in its well and he was happy about it. He just know the wall of his well and he will go up and down and dancing around. He don't know anything else from that wall. And one day, the sea was nearby. A frog from the ocean was washed into the well. And of course they start to talk. So the frog of the well start telling, oh, how is how is the ocean? How great is the ocean? Is it like my beautiful well? No? And the frog of the sea said, no, it's much more bigger. He said, how it is much more bigger? I said, is it 10 times bigger? I said, no, it is not 10 times bigger. It's much more than 10 times. It is 100 times bigger? I said, no, much more than that. So then the frog of the well started to argue with the frog of the sea, of the ocean. I said, impossible. How can this be like this? Because this is, how can something be bigger than this this well? He can't understand. Yesterday I was talking about the cow itself. About how they don't have any idea what is across the road. Like this also, people, they think that this is the object of their happiness, by taking drugs, become dependent upon alcohol and cigarette and so on. They think that without that I can't live. But imagine, think of the time when you were living without these things. You were not dependent upon these things. You were happy also. This have not made you happy, have ruined you in reality. Some people will say, yes, I have taken this ayahuasca or whatever, I have an experience of awakening. Well, look, it can give you a certain psychological experience because it's opened up certain things inside of your mind, but it's not reality. Because something which is real stays for a longer time, permanently even. But something which it's not, it have its short time and then it will disappear. So engaging yourself with who is in your surrounding, that's what I was saying yesterday. Tell me who is your companion, I will tell you who you are. So like that, if you have your companion as the addiction for all these things, change the people around you. Start engaging into service, start engaging into doing some spiritual practices and start engaging sincerely, not just fakely, not just appear to practice, but sincerely practice your spirituality, and practice that it can bring you closer and closer to the divine itself. And that happens only when you associate yourself. Transformation happens when you associate yourself with people which is centered into God consciousness. So, if you want to really sincerely change, start engaging into service to the Lord.
As devotees, we know we have to respect everyone, but what about people from another faith or movement that hold beliefs against what we believe? If challenged, should we take a stand and even challenge the claims of the other person?
Look, we have to respect everybody. This is Sanatana Dharma, but doesn't mean that you should just keep quiet and not answering the people. Because if you just keep quiet, they will think these people are just full. They are stupid people, and they will more ridiculize your path and so on. So, if you really and sincerely are on this path, and you have that knowledge to argue with them, because you see, not just go there and say, yes, your faith is wrong and my faith is better. Then what would be the difference between you and them? No, firstly you have to educate yourself. And when you know really what you're talking about, then don't keep quiet. With respect, tell them frankly, that this is my faith and this is where I stand. Whether you believe it or not, it is your problem. Because it is very important not just to say, okay, because we are spiritual, just throw all the dirt upon us. Because we are spiritual, you can tell us whatever we want to do. No. Sometimes you have to stand up, and really put what you believe, and but be strong into that. If you are going for an argument, firstly you have to know into what kind of argument you're going to. Because sometimes they are very well prepared, these people. They will not come to you to blame you and tell you things about your faith if they are not well prepared. That means they know what they are talking. So you also must know what you are talking before you go into argument with these people. Otherwise they will say, okay, they will ridiculize you upon your own logic. Like that I have seen many, where they try to go on argument because they have experienced certain things and they have say, okay, yes, I'm on a spiritual path, but yet they lack knowledge. They say intelligent knowledge is important. This is where it is. I've been saying on and on, but you must educate yourself about your path, about what you believe, because it's not just say, yes, I believe, that's it. No, you have to understand. That's why I always tell the devotee to really feed their mind with the Holy Scripture. Read the Bhagavatam, read the Bhagavad Gita, knows what Bhagavan Krishna have said about you and about your path itself, and read especially what your Guru have said. As being a devotee, you should know strongly what your Guru teach, and then you can engage into discussion referring to what they are arguing about. Because very often in argument, whatever the people are throwing at you, it is their own weakness. So utilizing their own argument against them. Because you see, Bhagavan Krishna has spoke everything. If you look at the Bhagavad Gita itself, if you analyze the Bhagavad Gita itself, there is all this argument are there. All the answers of all the argument are there. So you can always do a reverse psychology, taking the things that they are, throwing at you, telling you, oh, you are wrong on this, you can counter that. Because for them to perceive something it is wrong in others, meaning they have this belief upon their own belief itself. Because they appear to believe, they appear to say, yes, I'm very knowledgeable, I know better than you, my religion is better, my path is better, or my understanding is better. But actually it is their own weakness. That's why they go into arguing, to prove themselves that they know better. So if you utilize their own argument against them, but you have to be a little bit wise for that, and you have to know what you're talking about. Otherwise, then it will be no different between you and them. If you just fight, because an argument, somebody which is arguing, meaning that they are not satisfied. Because somebody which is satisfied, they are calm. Somebody which is doing their whatever religion they come from, whatever path they are on, whoever they are believing, they are believing in God firstly, So, if they are sincere, they will not have any problem with anybody. But due to their insecurity into what they believe, they know that whatever they are believing, there is some flow into it, you know. There is some things which doesn't make sense into it. That's why they will open up their mouth and bark like a dog's. You know? So you don't need to become a dog like them. So
Gurudev, Guruji, there are some spiritual people who call themselves quote-unquote free spirits and do not want to connect to any belief. Can you please comment a little bit about this attitude in life?
sorry.
There are some people, spiritual people, who call themselves free spirits and do not want to
free
associate with
spirit.
any.
Well, look, this is the freedom of everybody. You know, you can't force people to associate, to belong to any, how say, path or anything. You know. So you can't force people. Nowadays, we are living in a world, but spiritual freedom is there. You know, you are free to believe in whatever you want. And you want to believe in the tree, believe in the tree. You want to believe in the spirit of the wood, believe in the spirit of the wood. You want to believe in the stars, believe in the stars. Whatever you want to believe, you are free to believe. So, are you truly free? This is the question. Where do that lead you? Yeah. If you don't have an aim in life, and if that aim is not clear, if that aim is not, say, yes, that is my goal I want to achieve, you know, then you see very often people are just flying around. And this is the state of many nowadays, you see. You know, people just do whatever spirituality they want. You know, they just read a book and then they start practicing. They think that they are already guru. You know, they are already teacher, and they have to teach everybody, you know, how to be free. But this is not, it don't lead one somewhere, you know. That's why you see all this kind of spirituality nowadays. There is this course and that course, you know. But are people really free from that? No, people don't get free. Because you see, without an aim, you know, okay, they will say, yes, you want to have liberation, you want to have this, you want to have that, but it stayed always a concept. You know, like I was saying in the verse of Bhagavad Gita earlier, you see, there's many which is striving, you know, many who is practicing, but yet they don't achieve to that aim, like the devotee does, you know, those who surrender to the, because their aim is aimless. They are roaming around like without any aim in life. You know, even they are helping other people, they are guiding other people, they are giving seminars on other people, but it leads them to complete destruction. You know, in place of helping them to awake something deeper inside of them, it is destroying the people. But they don't perceive it like that, because they get a little bit of I say, experience, a little bit of feeling, oh yes, I'm feeling joy and happy, you know. But this joy and happy are not real. You know, it is in the mind. Once that joy and happy disappeared, are you still happy? No, it's not. That's why I was talking about associating oneself with pure devotees. You know, associating oneself with people who knows what they're talking about. Otherwise, you will go to worlds which is, you see, very dangerous. So then when we talk about free spirit, you know, yes, you know, the spirit is free, you know, but where does that lead you? Okay, you're living life from one day to the other, yeah, but do you have an aim? No, there is no aim. There's many people who live like that. You know, the beggars on the street live like that. But the difference between a beggar on the street and the free spirit people is that the beggar, they know they are the servant, they are begging, and God will look after them. You know, there is no beggar that goes empty stomach to sleep, God provide for it. But whereas a free spirit, they don't perceive that grace of God in their life. So, like I said, you are free to believe and to follow whatever you want. If that brings happiness to you, it is, of course, you keep searching until one day, things will change and you will realize that how much life you have wasted, how much time you have wasted in your life. When you look back, that I could have had this, I could have changed already. But you see how you perceive the world. You're looking at the world of the finite, of the outside reality, and then you say, yes, I'm free. I can do whatever I want. Yes, it's true, you can do whatever you want. Then start to know what is love, Start to love in a precise moment. You can't do everything. So you are free, really? No, you are not free. So now you say, free spirit, can you do all the things that you were doing last year during this time? No, you can't. Because now it's locked down. You're scared of coronavirus. You're scared that what will happen when you have that virus? You will suffer. You may die. Are you free? No, you are not free. That's why you are also locked down inside. So everybody is scared about themselves. So how can you be free? You're just also on the path to look. You're searching. There was once a sage. He took a photographer to listen the glories of the Lord. He took them to listen about Bhagavad. And that photographer, the sage took him and he was there listening, and it was, for the sage it was heart-opening, But for the photographer, he was not interested about what the Qatari was saying. He was mostly interested about taking picture of the Qatari. So afterward the sage said to him, ask him, how do you feel? You have listened to the glory of the Lord. How do you feel? And then he said, well, I was just looking at the speaker, and which angle should I take the picture and so on. So like that, he wastes that time, he wastes that nectar. He could not drink that nectar. Like this is the same, People who think they are free, of course you have a certain freedom of choices in life. But you have to understand, to relinquish this life itself, to understand what is that greatness of this life here, of being a human being itself. So that somebody which doesn't have an aim, they will never realize it. So,
Jai Gurudev Guruji, I am struggling with humility. Often I catch myself teaching lessons to people and I make them feel guilty. I want to do it for their own good, but I end up seeing all my arrogance and it didn't help at all. How can I stop doing this and how can I help in a better way?
Humility. Humbleness is one of the essence of character which is very difficult, To be humble. Firstly, we are talking about humility. What it is to be humble. It's good, I'm very happy in your question. You see your own defect, But sitting and crying upon your own defect and don't change, it's not going to change anything. It's true, you are teaching others, You are reminding others, but yet when you perceive your own pride, because the opposite of humility is pride. So when you perceive your own pride, then you see that you are not humble. But this is very good, actually. At least you perceived that you have this pride. Because very often, many doesn't even see that they have the pride inside of them. So when you perceive that you have pride, you have to be watchful at all time. So watch yourself. The moment you perceive that you're getting arrogant, or you feel that pride is arising inside of your mind, say, no, that is only him. It is only Giridhari which is the doer of everything. You can't do anything. If he don't will it, can you do something? No, you can't. So then why do you enjoy the pride? Why do you enjoy when people flattered you? Know one thing. The people who flattered you today, they are sitting with a dagger behind their back. Today they flattered you, tomorrow they will dagger you. So don't listen to flattery, because you see, it's easy to listen to flattery. When you listen to flattery, your mind runs towards that. Your mind said, oh wow, wonderful, I'm being flattered. So then what happened? When your mind starts getting flattery, you're already poisoned. You're already contaminated. For one flattery, you will want to get more flatteries. So with all this flattery, what would you do? Then at the end, you will see that death is knocking at your door. What you have collected only flatteries. So that's why on the spiritual path, we forget about oneself. We don't say even, find yourself. When we say find yourself, we say find your true self. Once you find your true self, once you realize that true self is part of the Supreme Lord Himself, that delusion of who I am disappeared. Because arrogance and pride awake when you don't have any notion of who you are. You think you are so great, You think that everything rotates around you. You are the sun and all the planets are rotating around you. No, you are not. Many people think like that, The rich people think because of their richness, they think that they are the center of the world and everybody is under their control. Then they realize, oh no. When the richness disappeared, when death is knocking at the door, they realize, no, it is not. How many people I have seen like this, very proud of their wealth, but they are not happy people. They pretend to be happy. They say to themselves they are happy because of this and that, but in reality, no, they are miserable. If I tell you, what they ask, what they talk, it's all fancy things. It's all things which is without any importance. So this is when the mind is corrupt. So you are a devotee. You know very well that everything that you do, it is accordance to the will of God. And it is by His grace that you perceive even that pride is inside of you. You have not yet transcended this pride. So keep focusing your mind, keep reminding yourself that it is the Lord Himself which is doing everything. You are not doing anything. Because in the absence of that Atma inside of you, can you still do all the things that you do? Can you still say, oh, I have this or I have that? No, you can't. Atma is not there, nothing will work. Not the mind even will not even have any thought to think about. So praising that glory of that pride, it will not lead you anywhere. So to become humble, we remind ourselves that He is everything. But everything in our life is up to Him. We dedicate everything to Him. That's what makes us always humble. So you see, pride will make you, destroy you. So keep reminding yourself of the love of God, and keep reminding yourself that, let's say, you are nothing. Because if you think that you are something or somebody or something great, pride will eat you. I have seen many people, due to their arrogance and the pride, they appear to be humble outside. Then they go into fantasy, and they think inside, oh, how great I am, how wonderful I am. Then they start telling great stories to people, of their own greatness. So that will lead them to their own perdition. Even hell, is too nice for this kind of people. So if your pride, that full smell of arrogance, how can one bear that? So don't entertain that. And like I said to you, you are on the right way actually, because when you're talking about humility, you're saying about humility, but yet you see that still inside of you there is pride. So there is still polishing to be made, and still striving towards the Lord to be made. And knows that, because you have seen that, it becomes easy also. Time to time, it will be easy to detach from all these things and center only on the feet of the Lord. Today in Vrindavan, as I said earlier, it is very auspicious day. Actually, it is only day that they show the feet of Banki Bihari. Otherwise, all the other days, the clothes always cover his feet. And this is a reminder where we have to fix our mind, If we fix our mind upon our humility, or upon our pride, or upon our ego, upon our goodness, all these things, we will still be bound by the free mode of gunas, like Krishna said, This world is governed by the free mode of guna, it's under Maya itself, even goodness. So it's not about focusing our mind upon the goodness that we do. It's not about focusing upon the bad things that have happened before, or how you are living your life now. No, it's about focusing upon the feet of the Lord and attain. This is my aim, this is my goal. I want to attain this feet, There's nothing else that matters. And if that is clear, even by perceiving that you still have pride, don't entertain it. Surrender it to the feet of Giridhariji. So I wish you all that this blessed day, shall bring a lot of blessing to you, and that your heart open up, and that you start to see the Lord within you. See that when you say yourself you're a devotee, that what kind of quality a devotee have, A devotee, don't think of oneself, but think of praising Guru and God. So, Jai Gurudev.